Wonderful. Welcome back to 5 Things We Learned for round 11. Thanks to Mornington Peninsula Brewery for being the sponsor of this series. Make sure you check out their website, www.mpbrew.com.au. They've got amazing products, and thanks again for them for supporting this video. Let's get straight into it. That was a shit performance. It was, yeah, you know what I think of it. Let's get straight into my 5 key points of the things that I learnt yesterday, if there was anything. Number 1, not on the same wavelength. And this kind of was touched by Jack Sinclair post-game, but it's obvious to everyone when you watch it that there just seems to be certain players that are going at a different speed to other players. You know, some players maybe want to go fast, whereas other players want to be a bit more timid with the ball in hand. The best teams, everyone's on the same wavelength. Everyone knows when they need to attack. Everyone knows when they need to defend. But unfortunately for us, it's kind of just an individual's game, and each player has their own sort of game plan. And obviously that means that it translates into so many mistakes and passages of play where, you know, you think it's a simple kick over the top, but a player's obviously on a different wavelength and he goes for another handball that doesn't need to be there and gets the other player into a logjam and it's a turnover. So that's just a continuity thing. That's a confidence thing. Every player is just kind of looks a little bit confused at the moment. Number 2, we've lost all instinct. We are just devoid of any swagger, any confidence, any ability to take the game on. You know, Melbourne on multiple occasions took on a really risky kick in the corridor and it opened up the game, and they just played on instinct. You know, it's when you don't think when you get the ball in hand. You don't think and you just play. And I think we do way too much thinking with the ball. I think we overthink every possible situation. We're too afraid to play on instinct because maybe that might unlock a few more mistakes. But the funny thing is, we're playing safe footy, or what we think is safe footy, and we're still one of the top teams for turnovers in the competition, and we cough up the ball, you know, a lot more than our opponent on a week-to-week basis. So let's play on instinct. Let's see what we can do for the rest of the year with a bit less coaching and a little bit less, analysis on very specific niche things in the game plan. Just play. I'd love to see us just play, because it's been, we haven't seen that all season. I feel like last year we had a good balance of tactics and ability to play on instinct, and this year it's all tactics and absolutely no instinct. And I think that just takes all excitement and energy out of the game. Number 3, this kind of relates to the previous point. This is the first time I'm saying this, and I've discussed this with other people, but coaches on notice, coaches under the pump. I think maybe we've forgotten, or maybe we didn't really acknowledge how, Lenny Hayes was in the midfield last year for us as the coach of the midfield. Now it's Brendan Goddard, because Lenny is back to, he wanted to spend more time with his family, and I think he's head of development, I believe, which is what Goddard was, I think, last year. So they've basically swapped roles. I don't know if that's working. I don't see any improvement in the midfield. I see us worse, much, much worse. I'm not saying that's Brendan Goddard's fault, but obviously he's the coach of the midfield. He needs to take some responsibility for that. And then by the same token, Robert Harvey as the forward line coach, I'm still not sure about that. He's literally a Brownlow medalist midfielder. I don't understand how he's the forward line coach. To me, it's like having Tony Lockett as our backline coach. Like, if he's good in the position that he played, he should probably coach that position. I feel like Goddard would be good with the forwards because he played forward a bit as a mid and he knew how to kick the ball to a forward. I know Robert Harvey did, but Robert Harvey was a pure mid. He wasn't floating forward. So I'm just confused by that a little bit. I think even a simple swap of responsibility could potentially change a few things. I'd love to see Goddard as the forward coach and Harvey as the midfield coach, but I know that's not going to happen. But coaches are absolutely on notice. And obviously the top dog, Ross Lyon. Let's see what he's got in the second half of the year. He alluded to a few game plan changes in his presser. Let's see if he sticks to that. But obviously, players, coaches, everyone at the football club are absolutely on notice now. We've gone a couple of weeks, with a couple of losses where we kind of went below the radar. We're now firmly on the radar and in everyone's sights. across the AFL media community. We're going to get slammed this week, and if we lose to West Coast, it's just going to capitulate and it's going to go to a whole new level that we haven't seen since Brett Ratton. Number 4, selection question marks. Collard. Didn't do anything yesterday. Seb Ross. Not really that much. Sharman as a sub. Highly questionable. We had Brad Crouch at VFL level, dominating. We had Hunter Clark at VFL level, dominating. We had Tim Membry at full forward in the VFL, kick 6. Ollie Houghton kick 5. We've got players that Dan Butler's not getting selected for some reason, even though they keep posting about him and saying he's ready. I just don't get it. There's so many players at AFL level that are not performing, and they still get a game. What does Hunter Clark have to do? What does Brad Crouch have to do? Brad Crouch brought the best out of Jack Steele last year. We forget how important he is. He's not the superstar, that catches your eye, but he gets all the ugly shit done so that the fancy players can do their fancy shit. I feel like there's a few selection problems there. I'd like to see Brad Crouch, Hunter Clark, Tim Membry, and Dan Butler in this week. I just think we need to go for it. If we want selection integrity, play the players that are playing well, and right now they're the ones playing well at VFL level. There's a few in the AFL level that need to kick up the arse. And number 5, this is kind of more on a personal level, but I can only rant so often. Like, I still get people after games like, yesterday saying, Jake, rip into them. Like, go watch my Hawthorn review. Go watch the Fremantle review. Go watch the review after the Bulldogs game, after the Essendon loss. I rant. I rip into them. After yesterday against Melbourne, it's just like same old. So that you just get sapped of all energy to rant because you're like, what's the point? What's the point? I've done that already. And I'm just going to be repeating myself. I could copy and paste 5 reviews that I've done this year post-game that would literally what I say in those would relate to everything that happened yesterday. There was nothing new. I want to see some new things. If we lose, so be it, but let's lose trying stuff. We keep going out there and playing the same way. We're going to get the same result. And that's insanity. We all know that. But if I don't rant, that doesn't mean I don't care. I'm frustrated as hell. It's shocking. I backed him this season. I backed him in the off-season like a lot of Sainers, saying that we could really build on last year. And I'm proven they're making me look silly. They're making a lot of Saints fans look silly for having belief, which is the frustrating part because we all want belief. We all want to go to the football and believe that we can do something, that the club can do something in the next year or two. And that's just being sapped, that we're being sapped of all belief and energy and enthusiasm, which is the most frustrating and sad thing because that's the best part of football. And we're not getting that. So, those are my points. I'd love to hear yours. Put them in the comments. Just to quickly recap. Number 1, not on the same wavelength. Number 2, we've lost all instinct. Number 3, coaches on notice. Number 4, selection question marks. And number 5, to round it out, you can only rant so often. You can only give so much energy, can't you? Because on the field, you don't see it. So you're like, off the field, I'm not going to give that. I'm not going to give all that energy. They're not. So let's see what they can do. It's on them. It's on them to turn this shit around. Whether we make finals or not, it doesn't matter. We want to see some energy. We want to see some pride for the jumper that they're playing in. And right now we're not really seeing it. So thanks again for watching, Sainers. Thanks to Mornington Peninsula again for sponsoring today's video. And I'll see you in the next one. Podcast is back very, very soon. Possibly tonight. And no, it's definitely tonight. And lots of content throughout the week as well. And the lead up to the blockbuster against the West Coast on Saturday. Thanks again, and as always, go you mighty Sainers. See you guys. With that sound.